Somebody who has an interesting topic to talk about is Haris, who will now join me the stage and talk about leadership. So, what is your connection to leadership and makes it so important that you tell us about it today?
I told you yesterday. Like, it's been 3 times he's asking me the same question.
Haris?
No, it's fine. It's fine. So, well, I'm a medical doctor, and I'm interested in people primarily, but I'm also an epidemiologist. So I like to observe and look at people from above, not in a kind of condescending way, more kind of analytical way. And I'm interested to see what makes you dysfunction and causes diseases, and also what makes you function. So one of the phenomena that makes you function on population level is leadership. And I believe that's something you might be interested to hear about, and you might perhaps even learn something from it to incorporate that in your life. So, Andre, that's why I'm interested in this.
Then,
yeah, please.
No, good, then he takes the lead and takes the stage.
So, you know, I'm quite nervous, but having Gauss behind my back is quite, you know, gives me confidence. How are you doing? Fine? Did you like the food? Anybody got drunk? No? Good. Okay, so let's talk about leadership. So, leadership is the ability to lead other people towards a particular aim in order to obtain a result. And I believe all of you have been exposed to good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, successful or unsuccessful leadership. Some of you might have been put in a leadership position without asking for it, while others are craving to dominate other people without getting the opportunity for it. Either way, I think you would find it interesting and important to hear what science has to say about it. Well, there are a lot of theories out there, but the most notable one is Goleman's theory on leadership styles, where Goleman describes 6 patterns of leadership, which he calls them leadership styles, and he defines them with a lot of storytelling, which I will not have the time to go for, but I will count on your intuition, and I will show you videos of orchestra conductors. What you have to do is observe their movements and how they lead their teams. And I hope that you will feel what each of these styles mean. And the reason why I'm doing that is because orchestra conductors do leadership for a living. Every day when they go to work, they lead their orchestras, their teams, with a particular aim to interpret the compositions that some dead composers wrote a long time ago. They can't call them on the phone and ask them. In order to obtain the result, which is music that we all enjoy. So I hope you will feel what each of them means, and you will leave this room with one clear message in your mind, that you should use as many leadership styles as you are capable, and you should adapt them according to your team and the situation you're in. So follow me. Let's start with the most energetic style of all, the pace-setting style. Now, when a leader uses this style, he says, do as I do now. He wants you to be quick, he wants you to do exactly what he tells you, and he's very, very hardworking and highly energetic. He's kind of a locomotive of the train, but not a regular train, more kind of a fast-speed train, which everyone has to follow. Observe Riccardo Muti, how he does it, and I'll comment. Okay? Quite energetic, fully in control, very precise, perhaps over-precise. One emotion, one face. It looks nice, and it actually works quite well when you are under pressure, like due to a deadline, or you need a superior performance. But overall, if used constantly, it leads to burnout of both of the team and the leader. And that's exactly the reason why you should avoid it as much as you can. But there are certain circumstances when you have to use it, right? So remember, no leadership style should be used on its own, especially this one. So you perhaps could combine it with the following one, the democratic style. Now, when a leader uses this style, he cares for the opinion of the team players, and he incorporates those opinions into his leadership, into his decision-making. And he can do it because they're experts, and that's when it works. Now observe Carlos Kleiber conducting Die Fledermaus, and perhaps you will get a feeling what it means. Look, it's quite relaxed. Not that much into control. And enjoying. Now observe he's going to give power away here. Now the oboe player is in charge, not him. And the oboe player is telling the story. Wunderbar. Slight adjustments were needed. And all together. It's wonderful, right? And they seem all happy. And I tell you why they're happy. They're happy because they are valued as partners in this composition they're making, in this storytelling they're doing. And that's why they feel motivated to pursue and work hard. Now, of course, it should be favored. It works quite well. It gives good results. But there are certain circumstances in which you shouldn't use it. That's if your team members are not experts. It will not work. If you're in a crisis, it will not work. I'll explain why later, and you'll see which one should work in a crisis. So favor it, but don't use it only. Like combine it with another style. Perhaps the following one, the coaching style. Now this is a leader, when using this style, he cares for the self-improvement of the team. He allows you to try things, even if that means that you might make a mistake. Now let's observe Carlos Kleiber, again, the same conductor from before, using a different style now, showing leadership versatility. And a trumpet player is going to make a mistake, and I'll show you when. And observe how he behaves, okay? Watch. Wrong. Wrong again. One last chance. Well. Feedback is crucial for self-improvement, especially when you're wrong. You want your leader to tell you, but observe how he does it, He's not angry. He's just giving him a notion that he's wrong and focuses solely on him in the following 2 moments when he thinks he might be wrong again, which unfortunately he is. But the show goes on, Trying is safe because it leads to improvement, self-improvement of the team players. And that's how he allows it. But the drawback of this style is that it requires willingness on both sides. Now, if the trainee doesn't want to be trained, it doesn't work. If the coacher is lacking the skills for it, it doesn't work. And most importantly, it requires a lot of time, which frequently is a problem, and which we frequently don't have. So try to favor it if you can, if you have the time, but don't use it solely. Combine it with other styles. Now we come to the style that I'm most reluctant to use, and it's not only that I don't like it, but it's also the poorest performer of all, the directive style. Now, this is a leader who doesn't care what you think. He doesn't want you to try things and make mistakes, God forbid. He wants you to do exactly what he tells you to do. To show it, Arturo Toscanini, Beethoven's Fifth. Observe. Very clear and instructive, fully in control, but not as energetic as Muti in the pace setting style. It doesn't show much energy. Because at moments it seems like he doesn't care about the players. It seems so. Observe this, the way he holds the baton. It's a clear message. Who is holding the power here? I'm in charge. And you're here only as instruments executing the piece that I have in my mind. I don't care about your value that you might incorporate into this storytelling. But it doesn't look as bad, right? And it's because they're not making a mistake. Now let's observe what happens when there is a mistake and you use the directive style. Now, Arturo Toscanini, I'll show you an audio recording of a rehearsal. And someone is going to make a mistake. Now listen the feedback. Oh, sorry.
Follow me.
You have Italian translation from Italian here.
Ma sempre, sempre indietro! Contrabbassi! You are always late! Porco d'un Dio Santissimo! Oh, you are dead! È una vergogna! Shame on you! What kind of ease you have? You have easy in your feet!
Now, it looks funny now, but I believe none of us would like to be in their feet or shoes while this is going on, because it's quite unpleasant. It's horrible. It dreadens the morale, not just your morale, but of the entire team. And you're left doing poorly, being constantly afraid and in tonus. So you should avoid it as much as possible, but there are moments, one particular moment, when it works better than any other style, if the leader is an expert. That is the moment of crisis. In a moment of crisis, if the leader is an expert, you need someone exactly to tell you what to do, and you need to follow that order immediately. Because it's not quite the time for thinking, right? Or for opinions, or for making mistakes. It's a moment of crisis. But once the crisis has passed, you should abandon it immediately and replace it with some of the other positive styles, preferably the following one, the affiliative style. Now, this is a style where you care for the people. You put aside work a little bit, and you try to improve connection, relationships between people, giving them positive feedback, showing them empathy. Now, let me show you how you can show empathy. Leonard Bernstein. Do you see his hands? He's completely not in control. He's not giving them any instruction. He's just allowing them to listen to each other and work on their own. And it looks amazing. We all would love our bosses to love us the way Lenny loves his orchestra at this moment. But if constant, this style leads to poor performance. And the reason behind it is because it lacks urgency, guidance, and feedback. So you should use it when the morale has fallen, but not constantly. And again, you should combine it with at least one more style. And we come to the style that gives the best result, the visionary style. Now, this is a leader who invites you to come with him into his vision, into making something better. And he gives the meaning on what you're doing, and he gives meaning to you, to your lives and your work and everything. Observe and I'll comment what that feels. Leonard Bernstein again, the same from before. And you see, you can read the emotions from his face. He's showing the meaning to his orchestra. And you can see that it's some kind of a feeling about pain and suffering, but he doesn't want it to stop. He wants it to continue. And the reason for that is because it leads to exhilaration. See? And eventually happiness. I believe you've all felt this feeling. The meaning of this piece is love. And love can be bipolar, you know. You want it, but not too much. It's hard. But here is Lenny showing the meaning with his eyes shut, transferring the meaning to the orchestra so that they can transfer it to us. And it's amazing. But he can do it because he was amazing and unsurpassed, both as a musician, conductor, and composer. And that's exactly the drawback of this style, that unless you're amazing, it's really hard to use it and not being perceived as pompous. So in the end, one clear message. Leadership styles are different, and you should adapt them according to your team and the situation you're in. And you should use as many as possible, favor some compared to the others. And I hope you understood which one you should favor and which one you should not. Of course, this is far more complex, but that's all I can tell you in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for a great talk combined with great music and knowledge. Any questions? I guess there are. Yes, here in front.
Hi. So what is the influence of personality types on leadership? Because everybody can't do everything. I mean, it's clearly dominated.
Are you reading my mind? Because I wanted to answer that question.
Okay. Maybe.
No need to repeat it, I think it was clear enough.
So what she's interested is about how personality traits, right? Types, or I would call it traits, right? Okay, affect leadership. They do play a role. It's quite unclear actually how much and to which extent they define the style, but certainly they do affect. I believe you're all familiar with one mnemonic called Ocean that defines the personality traits that you have, right? Openness, conscientiousness, right? Extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Yes, who said it? That? Great, thank you. So, of course, all of these affect and define you, how you are. And based on your personality, it's likely that you will favor some of these styles, right? We don't know exactly how. There is research working on it, and people are trying to understand, but it's quite complex, as I said. It's really difficult, and it's also difficult to define personality and to define your personality. And it's not as so binary as it was thought before. Like, for example, you are not fully extroverted or introverted. It's very unlikely that you are fully this or that. We are all put on a range regarding our traits, right? So that means that that range allows us also, depending on the situation and other environmental factors influencing us, to move upper or lower on that range. Let's say extroversion, for example. Like, I might be an introvert, but predominantly, right? But my range allows me also to behave extrovertly when needed, right? And that's why it's so it's not so simple to define and to understand the story behind it. But definitely, personality does affect it. Like, if you are a person that's not so empathetic, it's likely that you would go for the directive style or the pace-setting style, you know? Or if you are a person that is empathetic, it's likely that you would go, I'm almost done, you will go, that you will go for the affiliative one. If you are a person you also, it's not only personality, it's also emotions, right? If you are predominantly affected by anger, not as part of your personality, but regarding whatever happens in your life at the moment, you might be directive even though, for example, even though you are, regarding your personality, more prone to be, I don't know, pace-setting or visionary or democratic. Yeah.
I hope not all the questions have been answered by this that people plan to ask. Do we still have open questions? We have one in the back, and then we take here another one, and then I would recommend to ask the other questions later, please.
So what I would like to ask is a more general question regarding management research.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical about some of this stuff because, how much of a scientific basis do you think these kinds of, let's say, categorizations have?
So it's like...
If I may repeat that?
Yeah.
So the question was, these elements presented here, are their scientific models profound enough that this really is something true that is happening?
So do the models are profound enough? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you one thing, and that's the way how we should understand science. There is one wonderful quote by Box, a statistician, a very famous statistician, who says, all models are wrong, but some of them are useful. So that's my comment on whether this is absolutely right and absolutely implementable. I would say no. This is one of the theories explaining leadership and management, or however you want to look at it. But of course, we need much, much more research behind it to understand what makes you, what's the story behind it? Is it personality? Is it certain, like, I don't know, traits or skills or whatever behind it that makes you using this style or not? But as a rule of thumb, this theory has proven useful. And this is the dominant theory taught in management, because it's been proven useful. Yeah, you even have a questionnaire where you can determine your own style, and you will see, when you do the questionnaire, if I would give you a questionnaire to each of you, you would see that you're not fully this or that. You have a range as well. You have a range, for example, that you are predominantly visionary, but not so much directive, a little bit of coaching, and, you know, in different ways. Yeah, I know, I give long answers. Yeah.
So we do give him one more try to give a nice and short answer.
Okay.
Thank you for your talk. That was really interesting, and I found it really applicable to a lot of areas in my own life. And I'm wondering if somebody wants to learn more how to use a different style that they're not inherently used to, is there a good way to practice it, or a way that somebody could practice developing that kind of skill?
Yes.
If I may rephrase.
Is that short enough?
But maybe a few comments on where to look that up. So let's say one wants to focus or improve the styles presented here because one is not so comfortable in them, which would be a nice way to train or get better in them. Can you recommend something?
Yeah, try to read more about it. Try to work on your emotional intelligence. I know it's a vague term and describes a lot of things, but try to work on your social skills and put yourself out there. Try to be a leader. Try and observe yourself. Like, try to be a leader and see what worked and what didn't. Like, see if you use, for example, some of these styles. Note it down. What worked, what didn't. In which moments it worked, it didn't. And perhaps that's the way you have to train yourself. You might go to workshops. I don't know if that works for you as well. There are people who train how to be a better leader, how to be more extroverted, or how to be whatever. There are a lot of trainings that you can use, but I can't tell you if that will work for you. Try it. Visionary.
Okay, then let's give up a big applause, and other questions, please, afterwards.